A nation that shaped the modern world. The United Kingdom entered the 1990s not as a rising power, but as a country that had already shaped the world. It was the architect of parliamentary democracy, the foundation of modern financial law, the birthplace of institutions that govern global trade, justice, and diplomacy. London was not simply a capital city, it was a command center of global finance, culture, and influence. Yet the 1990s were not about dominance. They were about survival, correction, and adaptation. This decade exposed a reality that many countries eventually face. What happens when history no longer guarantees prosperity? The answer reveals why some countries remain good places to live and invest, while others fall behind. To Camper United Kingdom then, and now we will follow these important for every country factors. 1. Governance and institutions. 2. Economic strength and opportunity. 3. Education and human capital. 4. Healthcare and social systems. 5. Infrastructure and public services. 6. Security and stability. 7. Freedom, democracy, and human rights. 8. Culture, values, and social trust. 9. Geography and natural resources. Let's begin. Governance and institutions. The quiet power of stability. In the 1990s, Britain's most important asset was invisible. Its institutions worked. The rule of law remained strong. Courts were independent. Property rights were protected. Contracts were enforced without political interference. This placed the UK in a fundamentally different category from countries experiencing transition or collapse at the same time. Across parts of Eastern Europe, Latin America, and Africa, political change often destroyed institutional trust. Britain avoided this. However, governance faced serious pressure. Economic mistakes earlier in the decade damaged public confidence. Political leadership appeared divided. Scandals and internal disputes created cynicism. But here's the key difference between a badly governed country and a well-governed one. In Britain, governments struggled, but institutions did not fail. That distinction alone explains why the UK recovered. Economic strength and opportunity. Recession, restructuring, and recovery. The early 1990s were economically painful. Unemployment rose sharply. House prices collapsed. Small businesses failed in large numbers. Entire regions, especially those dependent on manufacturing and heavy industry, felt abandoned. For many families, the decade began with insecurity and fear. Yet Britain did something critical. It changed its economic model. The UK shifted decisively toward financial services, legal and professional services, media and creative industries, higher education. London emerged as one of the world's most important financial centers, not because of natural resources, but because of legal certainty, language, and global connectivity. By the latter part of the decade, inflation was under control, employment improved, and investment returned. This illustrates a universal truth. A country is not bad because it faces recession. It becomes bad when it refuses to adapt. Britain adapted. Education and human capital. Long-term strength, short-term gaps. Education quietly shaped Britain's recovery. Universities maintained strong global reputations. British graduates remained competitive internationally. The country attracted foreign students, reinforcing soft power and economic growth. Higher education expanded, allowing more people to enter the new service economy. But weaknesses remained. Vocational education lagged behind economic reality. Many workers displaced from industry lacked retraining pathways. This created regional inequality that would last beyond the decade. Despite this, Britain avoided a devastating brain drain. Skilled workers stayed, and foreign talent arrived. Countries that lose their educated population struggle for generations. Britain did not. Healthcare and social systems. Protection during hard times. The National Health Service remained a cornerstone of British society. Healthcare access was universal. No citizen faced bankruptcy due to illness. This protected social cohesion during economic stress. The system, however, was under strain. Long waiting times, aging facilities, staffing pressures. Public debate focused on reform, efficiency, and funding, not on abolishing access. Social welfare systems softened the impact of unemployment and poverty. Living standards fell for some, but social collapse was avoided. This demonstrates an important lesson. Strong social systems do not eliminate hardship. They prevent disaster. Infrastructure and public services. A strong base, aging assets. Now, Britain entered the 1990s with infrastructure built over centuries. Roads, railways, ports, and utilities were extensive and reliable, but aging. Public transport outside major cities struggled to modernize. Housing shortages became structural, particularly in southern England. At the same time, Britain moved early into digital infrastructure. Telecommunications expanded rapidly, setting the foundation for future growth. Public services functioned, but inefficiencies revealed the cost of delayed investment. Infrastructure decline rarely causes immediate collapse. It erodes competitiveness slowly. Security and stability. Containing conflict without losing control. The UK in the 1990s was largely safe, but not without serious challenges. Urban crime rose, creating anxiety. Internal security issues related to long-standing regional conflict persisted. What mattered was the response. Security forces remained accountable. Courts remained independent. Political negotiation was pursued alongside enforcement. Many countries facing similar pressures descended into authoritarianism or instability. Britain did not. Security was managed within democratic limits, a defining characteristic of a good state. Freedom, democracy, and human rights. Allowed imperfect democracy. British democracy in the 1990s was noisy and confrontational. Elections were competitive. Media criticism was relentless. Public debate was often uncomfortable, but dissent was legal. Power changed hands peacefully. Courts limited executive authority. Discussions on equality, policing, and civil rights expanded. Britain did not lead every debate, but it allowed them to happen. Open disagreement is not weakness. It is democratic strength. Culture, values, and social trust. Identity and transition. British culture in the 1990s evolved rapidly. Traditional values, fairness, restraint, institutional respect, blended with renewed cultural confidence. Music, art, and media reshaped Britain's global image. Trust in politicians declined. Trust in institutions endured. People criticized the system, yet believed it could work. That belief separates resilient societies from fractured ones. Geography and natural resources. An advantage, not a guarantee. Geography favored Britain. As an island nation, it enjoyed natural security and access to global trade routes. Its climate was stable. Its ports connected it to Europe and the wider world. Natural resources were limited, but governance compensated. The 1990s reinforced a key principle. Geography offers opportunity. Institutions determine outcomes. The United Kingdom in the 1990s was not at its strongest, but it was at its most revealing. Economic pain tested society. Political uncertainty tested leadership. Global change tested relevance. Britain endured because its institutions held, its democracy functioned, and its economy adapted. This decade proves a universal truth. Good governance matters more than wealth. Strong institutions matter more than geography. Adaptability matters more than history. GDP, end of decade, approximately £1.1 trillion. GDP growth, average, approximately 2 to 3% annually after recovery. GDP per capita, approximately £18,000 to £20,000. And now, the United Kingdom enters 2026 as one of the most influential countries ever to exist. Its language connects billions. Its legal system underpins global finance. Its capital city remains a meeting point for money, culture, diplomacy, and ideas. Yet modern Britain is no longer defined by empire or unquestioned dominance. Instead, it is defined by how well it manages complexity. In a world shaped by economic uncertainty, technological disruption, demographic change, and geopolitical tension, the UK in 2026 offers a powerful case study. What truly determines whether a country is good or bad to live in, invest in, or govern? This story is not about perfection. It is about capacity, resilience, and governance under pressure. Governance and institutions. Stability without complacency. By 2026, the UK continues to benefit from one of its greatest long-term strengths, institutional depth. The rule of law remains firm. Courts are independent. Property rights and contracts are enforced predictably. These foundations place Britain ahead of many countries where politics interferes with justice or economic rules change overnight. However, governance in 2026 is under strain. Public trust in political leadership has weakened due to frequent leadership changes, policy reversals, and long-term planning gaps. While corruption remains low by global standards, perceptions of inefficiency and short-term decision-making persist. Yet the key distinction remains clear. The UK's institutions bend. They do not break. Civil servants maintain continuity. Independent courts limit executive overreach. Media scrutiny remains intense. This institutional resilience is a defining feature of countries that remain good even during turbulent periods. Economic strength and opportunity. A high-value economy with uneven outcomes. In 2026, the UK remains one of the world's largest economies, driven primarily by financial and professional services, technology and digital innovation, creative industries, higher education and research, advanced manufacturing and life sciences. London continues to function as a global financial hub, but economic activity is increasingly decentralized to other major cities. However, economic challenges are evident. Living costs remain high. Housing affordability is strained. Productivity growth is slower than in some peer economies. Wage growth exists, but not evenly. Skilled professionals benefit more than lower-income workers, increasing inequality pressures. Despite this, the UK remains highly attractive to international investors due to legal certainty, deep capital markets, global connectivity. This makes the UK in 2026 economically strong but socially uneven, a crucial distinction. Education and human capital. Global excellence, domestic gaps. Education remains one of Britain's strongest assets. Universities continue to rank among the world's best. Research output is globally competitive. International students still view the UK as a premium destination. This sustains long-term innovation and global influence. At the same time, skills shortages persist in healthcare, engineering, construction, digital infrastructure. Vocational education has improved but still lacks the status and scale needed to fully meet labor market demands. Brain drain exists at the margins, but Britain remains a net importer of talent, which is a key indicator of national health. Countries that lose their educated populations struggle to recover. Britain in 2026 does not. Healthcare and social systems. A pillar under pressure. Healthcare remains a defining feature of British society. Universal access continues to protect citizens from medical bankruptcy, reinforcing social stability. However, the system faces intense pressure from an aging population, workforce shortages, rising demand for chronic care. Public debate focuses not on whether healthcare should exist, but how it can remain sustainable. Social safety nets continue to prevent widespread destitution, but rising living costs increase reliance on state support. This highlights a core truth. Strong social systems do not fail suddenly. They erode slowly, if not renewed. In 2026, the UK stands at that renewal point. Infrastructure and public services. Reliability versus modernization. British infrastructure in 2026 is dependable but uneven. Major cities benefit from digital connectivity, improved public transport, investment in clean energy. Meanwhile, smaller towns and rural areas face transport gaps, housing shortages, limited local services. Housing remains one of the most serious structural challenges. High prices restrict mobility, family formation, and workforce flexibility. Digital infrastructure is a relative strength, supporting remote work and innovation, while energy systems transition toward greater sustainability. Public services still function, but expectations now exceed capacity. Security and stability. Quiet strength in an unstable world. The UK in 2026 remains one of the safest large countries globally. Crime exists, but institutions are effective. Law enforcement operates under judicial oversight. National security agencies remain professional and accountable. Externally, the UK maintains strong defense capabilities and international partnerships. Internally, political tensions are expressed through institutions, not violence. In a world where instability is rising, this predictability is a major advantage for both citizens and investors. Freedom, democracy, and human rights. Open, challenging, and resilient. Democracy in the UK remains robust in 2026. Elections are competitive. Media remains free and critical. Public debate is often polarized, but open. Discussions around speech, equality, privacy, and state authority continue, reflecting a society negotiating modern values rather than suppressing them. This openness can feel chaotic, but it is a strength. Countries that silence disagreement appear stable until they are not. Culture, values, and social trust. Diversity without disintegration. British society in 2026 is diverse, global, and culturally influential. This diversity fuels creativity, entrepreneurship, and international relevance. At the same time, it tests social cohesion. Trust in political leadership is fragile. Trust in institutions such as courts, healthcare, and education remains comparatively strong. The UK retains a culture of pragmatism, criticism without rejection, reform without revolution. This balance is rare and valuable. Geography and natural resources. Still an advantage, never a guarantee. Geography continues to favor Britain. As an island nation, it benefits from natural security, global maritime access, strategic positioning between continents. Natural resources are limited, but institutional stability compensates. History repeatedly shows geography offers opportunity, governance determines outcome. Final question. Is United Kingdom better now than before? The answer of this question is in your hand. See comment down below.